Howard Lutnick was confronted yesterday by Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen. And it is a fascinating sort of a bit of insight into the machinations behind the scenes around Epstein and the Epstein cover-up. Now, to set the stage here, Lutnick previously said in 2005 he never was going to see Epstein again. And the Epstein files reveal that they had lunch in 2012. So when questioned about it, Lutnick simply tries to downplay the significance of that meeting. He goes, it was an hour, there were nannies, blah, blah, blah. But unfortunately for him, the details of the exchange only make it worse, and it is a direct contradiction to what he said in 2005. So let's get right into it, and we will evaluate as we go.
In my opening statement, you led people to believe that you had cut off all contact with Jeffrey Epstein after the 2005 encounter you and your wife had in his apartment. But as I'm sure you know, the Epstein files show a very different record of interaction. Why do the Epstein files show you coordinating a meeting and planning a visit with Jeffrey Epstein on his private island in December 2012?
Thank you for the question. I'm glad to be here to make it clear that I met Jeffrey Epstein when I moved to a house next door to him in New York, right? And I met him then. Over the next 14 years, I met him 2 other times that I can recall, 2 times. And that is none for 6 years. So 6 years later, I met him. And then a year and a half after that, I met him, and never again. Probably the total, and you've seen all of these documents, of these millions and millions of documents, there may be 10 emails connecting me with him.
So far it's, I'm not really in the Epstein files that much, and I didn't really have that many meetings, and I didn't really have that much of a relationship with him. Okay, remember, this is already more than he acknowledged in a recent interview, which I'll play later.
Probably about 10 emails connecting me with him over a 14-year period. I did not have any relationship with him. I barely had anything to do with that person, okay?
Secretary Lutnick, I think you understand the root of concern here. It's the way you described very emphatically your first encounter with him in his apartment, said you were disgusted, would never have any contact with him again. Did you, in fact, make the visit to Jeffrey Epstein's private island?
Now, remember, this is a visit he never previously acknowledged, and that he said he would never have contact with him again after the apartment meeting. Remember.
I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies. I had another couple they were there as well with their children.
Now, the reason he brings up all of these kids being there is because he argues it's exculpatory. Nothing bad could have happened if all of us had our kids there. Now, I'm not arguing anything bad happened. What I am telling you is that when we're talking about a guy who's accused of doing horrible things to kids, saying we met with Epstein with plenty of kids, it's not really exculpatory. Now, to be clear, I'm not alleging anything here. I'm only saying it doesn't clear anybody to go, no, it was fine because we brought a whole bunch of kids around the guy. Now, we all understand Epstein is not alleged. Well, actually, the 9-year-old stuff is pretty damn close. Anyway, let me not say more. We'll evaluate it as it goes.
And we had lunch on the island. That is true, for an hour. And we left with all of my children, with my nannies and my wife, all together. We were on family vacation. We were not apart. To suggest there was anything untoward about that in 2012, I don't recall why we did it, but
Mr. Secretary, again, as I said, there's not an indication that you yourself engaged in any wrongdoing with Jeffrey Epstein. It's the fact that you believe that you misled the country and the Congress based on your earlier statements, suggesting that you cut off all contact when in fact you had not. When you visited the private island, did you see anything inappropriate during that visit?
The only thing I saw with my wife and my children and the other couple and their children was staff who worked for Mr. Epstein on that island.
And you realize that, this visit took place after he'd been convicted, right? I mean, you made a very big point of saying that you sensed that this was a bad person in 2005. And then, of course, in 2008, he was convicted of soliciting prostitution of a minor. And yet you went and had this trip and other interactions. Did you have a dinner in Epstein's New York City home in 2011?
No.
So the information that suggests that there was a dinner with Woody Allen and Woody Allen's spouse at the Epstein residence, that's there's nothing to that. Is that right?
I actually don't know what you're referring to. There was, look, I looked through the millions of documents for my name, just like everybody else.
Everybody. Yep. And we all checked to see if we were in the Epstein files, right?
And what I found was there was a document that says that I had a meeting with him on in May, I think, for an hour at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Not dinner or otherwise, for an hour at 5 o'clock.
All right. There's also a reference to the fact that Epstein had expressed an interest in meeting your nanny. Do you know whether Jeffrey Epstein ever met with your nanny?
No, I saw that. I had no idea what that was about. It had nothing to do with me,
No
as far as
interaction
I
at
know.
all with him on that?
No, as far as I know, no.
Would you, Mr. Secretary, be willing to ensure that the file is complete to share with this committee and the Congress your own records, any records you have that relate to Jeffrey Epstein?
I will surely talk about that. I hadn't thought about that. I have nothing to hide.
He's going to talk about whether to do that. So listen, 2005, he meets Epstein and is so creeped out, they decided we are never going to be in the room with this guy again. We have that clip.
And he opens the doors, and there's a massage table in the middle of the room.
Ooh.
And candles all around and stuff. I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he gets weirdly close to me.
Ooh.
And he says, and the right kind of massage. My wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
That's pretty clear, huh? 2005, he gets close to me and he goes, it's the right type of massage. And I was so disgusted. And then his wife and he decided never again. And then 3 years later, Epstein's convicted. And of course, this reinforces Howard Lutnick's instinct never to be around this guy ever again. And then he has a meeting with him in 2011, and then he has lunch with him on his island in 2012. This one vignette that we've just spent the last however many minutes going over, this single vignette of lying and deception and sort of glad-handing elites, is just one out of dozens or hundreds or even thousands. And we haven't gotten the full story really on any of them. So we will have broader coverage of this. The coverage will be wider. It might be longer, but it'll certainly be wider on the show later and subsequently. Make sure that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel to get all of our updates on this. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. And of course, all of these stories are part of our daily 1-hour podcast, which you can get on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you like to listen. If you grew up eating cereal, you probably remember the fun of the crunchy, bright flavors on Saturday morning and the whole thing. The only problem is you become an adult it probably doesn't fit into how you want to be eating to keep eating those cereals. And that is why Magic Spoon works so well. Your favorite childhood cereals, the nostalgic taste, but without the sugar bomb. It is a high protein, zero sugar cereal that is still just as fun. Each serving has 13 grams of protein, 5 grams of net carbs, and 0 grams of sugar. So it actually feels fueling, whether you're having it at breakfast, a late night snack, or after a workout. They've got the classic flavors like fruity, frosted hot chocolate, and cinnamon toast, plus new flavors launching with real marshmallows that lean hard into the nostalgia, including classic marshmallow and s'mores. Magic Spoon also makes protein-packed treats and granola, which are easy to grab on the go or add to yogurt. Everything tastes like a treat, but feels simple and high quality. Look for Magic Spoon on Amazon or at your nearest grocery store, or get $5 off your next order at magicspoon.com/Pakman. The link is in the description.